So this video is to celebrate World Ranger Day and the work that we do with Game Rangers Association to make sure that the Rangers of Africa are kitted out in some of the best boots you can get. And stay tuned, because later on in this video, we're going to let you know how we're giving you a little thank you for your support of this initiative. Here at Gym Green, we partnered up with the Game Rangers Association of Africa, and we said to them, any boot that belongs to our Ranger Donations program, we will donate 1 pair for every 10 we sell. And thinking we'll just give a few pairs away here and there, this whole initiative blew up, and today we can proudly say that we have close on 6,000 pairs of boots on feet, with a further 2,000 pairs in allocations to Rangers in need across Southern Africa. A little background to how we came up with this initiative is that I was out in the field, we were busy capturing African buffalo, and while they were in the boma, I was standing next to a guy called Chris Galliers, and he happens to be the president of the International Ranger Federation. And I said to Chris, Chris, I see so many pictures of Rangers that work on our front line, and I see them wearing old canvas sneakers, shoes with soles falling off. And I said, how can these guys who are protecting some of the most amazing places on our planet be so under-equipped? And it just so happens that 40% of these Rangers have to pay for their own boots. And they also happen to be some of the most underfunded employees on the planet. And I said to Chris, I said, you know what, we have this boot company, and I've had this idea in the back of my head where you see all these sports stars who are paid hundreds of millions to wear these fancy brands, and these brands pay them to obviously test their product. And I said, no one is doing this here in Africa for our Rangers. And I said, my long-term goal for this brand is to be the boot of Africa's Rangers. But to put a claim to that is we need to get boots on feet, and we need to make sure that we're not just having a claim to the brand, but they're actually doing the job. And so the project was born. So World Ranger Day is celebrated worldwide on July the 31st to commemorate Rangers killed or injured in the line of duty, and to celebrate the work Rangers do to protect the planet's natural treasures and cultural heritage. So on the 31st of July, we're going to pause for a moment to reflect on the courage and sacrifice that Rangers make by honoring fallen Rangers and standing with Rangers who bravely undertake their role on the front line. So something that not many people realize is that these Rangers are working in some of the most remote places in Africa. I mean, just to get to these places, it's often 2 commercial flights, then a private chartered flight, and then you still have to drive 2 to 5 hours to get into these areas. So it's one thing getting into these areas, another thing trying to protect these areas, and a whole nother thing trying to get boots to these areas. So one example that I'm going to give to you is that we've just done a drop to Gorongosa National Park in Mozambique alongside the Kingsley Holgate Foundation. So for those of you that don't know, Kingsley Holgate is a South African explorer, humanitarian and an author, and a fellow of the Royal Geographic Society. He has been described as the most traveled man in Africa and has modeled himself on David Livingstone. So a big thanks to Kingsley and his team for putting this all together, and later on, once we get some more footage and stories, we'll put a whole story together on that drop of boots. We're going to be running a discount on select styles for select websites for any boots in our Ranger category. So as a thanks, please keep an eye out. Make sure that you're subscribed to our newsletter. I'm not 100% sure how we're going to notify you. It'll either be through a newsletter or we'll just discount it on the website. As we have select websites around the world, every website's going to be a little bit different. So not every Ranger on every website will be discounted. It's going to be select styles per country. So please keep an eye on that, and make sure you're subscribed and following us on socials, as that's where we're going to let you know about this. Another thing to be aware of is that we're going to start promoting and getting some more in-depth stories out on some of the Ranger teams we work with. This will be through our email marketing. And for those of you who are already subscribed, I'm sure you'll vouch for what I'm about to say, is that we don't spam you. What we do is every now and then, we give you an interesting story, something that's happening here at the factory, or something awesome that someone's done in our boots. So make sure you're subscribed there, because you'll then get these updates of slightly more in-depth stories of our boots in action and the Ranger teams that we are supporting. For those new to the channel and Gym Green, I'm going to run through the boots that are part of our Ranger program and where it all started. So it was way back, end of 2021, we developed the African Ranger. Now I love everything about this boot. Personally, it's my favorite in the range, and it's pretty much all I wear when I'm not testing some of the other boots. So to end of 2021, I think it was up on pre-sale when we started delivering the first boots around the beginning of 2022. And this was the only boot that was part of the donation program. And little did we know what we were in for after we came out with this one. The next boot that we added to the range was actually an existing style in our range, and we refer to it as the AR8 boot. So what happened was that because we were able to raise and donate so many boots, instead of just kitting out the odd Ranger here and there, we were actually able to kit out almost armies of Rangers with hundreds of pairs. And sometimes the low cut boot doesn't go with the uniform, and these guys were also needing something a little bit more heavy duty and rugged. So we decided to add our AR8 boot to the range, and that made it these two boots on selection. Now for those who have been following our story, another YouTuber that I'm quite good friends with, and he really loves and promotes our brand all the time, he said to me, listen, I can also get involved and we can help out and try and push some boots for Rangers. So together we developed the Barefoot African Ranger, which is the same upper as the African Ranger, and all we did was replace it with a leather midsole and the Anvil outsole. So a big thank you to Rose Anvil for helping us promote and push this boot, and obviously getting some more boots onto Rangers' feet. So today you'll see that we offer the standard African Ranger, the Barefoot African Ranger, and a premium African Ranger, which is the leather midsole, and then your selection of various outsoles. Because of the success and everyone loving our Barefoot range, we then worked on the African Trooper with Rose Anvil YouTube channel. And what we did is we came out with the Barefoot one, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, and of recent, the rugged one. So these boots have been in production for some time now, and it's quite exciting that we're starting to see some of these boots, now they're becoming part of the donations, going onto the feet of some Rangers. So as you can see here, there's a boot for almost every kind of job that these Rangers do. Just for everyday kicking about, field work, in and out of a vehicle, flying anti-poaching planes, the guys are mostly going for the low-cut African Rangers. Then the guys that we're kitting out in the hundreds of pairs, obviously a slightly more affordable option for us as a factory to donate is our standard AR8. And then we come in with Rose Anvil and his Trooper boots, which is a pretty heavy and chunky boot. So not every Ranger, you can imagine these guys walking around in sandy, soft areas, they do not need the rugged Trooper because it's just such a heavy boot. So what we do there is we give them the Barefoot African Trooper, a lot more lightweight, nimble, easy to get around. But some of the guys who are really rugged on the boots, then we're going for this option here. So thanks again for watching, and let's have a great day celebrating the World Rangers. For those of you that have been to Africa and experienced this magical continent, I'm sure you'll all agree that we are in desperate need to protect these areas and the wildlife that lives within it. So please subscribe to our channel, subscribe to our newsletter, hit the like button, and thank you once again for the support, and especially the support on our Boots for Rangers initiative.